Welcome to the January 2014 episode of Iowa City in Focus. I'm your host, Mary Bryant. The end of December 2013 saw the City of Iowa City declaring a snow emergency, and there is the potential for more bad weather in the near future. So on this month's episode, we're taking you to the Public Works Department to talk with Carol Sweeting and Brian Michael about why exactly snow emergencies need to be issued and what your responsibilities are at those times. Then we'll visit the neighborhood centers of Johnson County to learn about their Youth Off-Road Riders cycling program. Stay tuned! Today I'm at the Iowa City Public Works Department, and I'm talking with Carol Sweeting, the Public Information and Education Coordinator here for the City of Iowa City, and also Brian Michael, a Senior Maintenance Worker. And we're talking about snow emergencies and what snow emergencies are, why they're called, what to do, all that good stuff. So could you two start off telling me why exactly a snow emergency might be called?
Well, in Iowa City, we see about an average of 34 inches of precipitation a year, and some of it comes as the form of snow during the winter. And during a normal bit of snow, it doesn't seem to be much of a problem, and our streets fellows can get out and they can do their job, plowing and salting and sanding pretty easily. But when we start getting one snow after another, and we start seeing that accumulation on the streets where they can't keep up. We go into cold deep freeze and we start getting icing that isn't controlled by our salt and sand. That's when we want to begin to think about public safety and whether or not we're doing our job. So the city manager and the streets public works director, we all get together and we go into a plan of action for a snow emergency. And what that entails is allowing our snowplow drivers to get down both sides of the street over a 48-hour period. So the first step of the process is to get a declaration from the city manager, and we try to do that by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then start getting the information out to our public, and so that by next morning at 8 a.m. their cars are on the correct side of the street. And what that means is if we declare a snow emergency on the first day of the month, it's an odd day of the month, and so when you go out in the morning, you look at the house numbers and you park on the odd side of the street.
That sounds pretty simple.
It is, and the same thing the next day then, 24 hours later, we want all the car drivers to move their vehicles over to the opposite side of the street. It's the second day of the month, so you're going to go to the even side of the street. There are some caveats to this though. However, when you look at a place where there's a sign that says no parking anytime, we always want to look at those signs as the law. So if you are on a street that says no parking the side of the street ever, if it's on the odd side of the street, when we go to the odd day, you're not going to be able to park there. You will have to move it somewhere else. So always follow the traffic signs that are posted on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week basis.
Okay. So it sounds like there are responsibilities on both sides, on the city's side as well as the citizen's side.
There is. And you know, it's all about public safety because folks like Brian that are out there in a truck, we might think this is pretty easy. Why can't you get a snowplow down a street? You know, you guess what? You can do it during the middle of the night. Well, the problem is if you have cars on both sides of the street and you can't get them moved regularly, one side is going to keep building up. And what we want to do is get that snow and ice peeled back to the curb as much as we can because we've got 3 months of winter. And if that keeps accumulating, then the problem that we will have is pretty soon those cars start encroaching into the right-of-way of the driver. And so the important thing for us is get down one side and get it clean, get the cars moved over, the vehicles moved over to the other side so that we can keep that street width. And street widths in Iowa City here are anywhere from about 20 feet to about 40 feet, 44 feet?
Yes.
So in that case, we're looking at a snowplow, and our snowplows are, at this point, how wide are they now, Brian?
We have wings on most of our trucks. If you're just sanding, some of the streets you can get down pretty good. But when you have to put your wing down, when you have both plows down, you can't come up and go around hardly a parked car and just stop, lift up your blades, because then you got 2 big piles of snow. If we can even get around the parked cars, it seems like maybe several hours later they'll get calls that the car is moved and want us to come back. And we don't have the manpower. We can't come back every 10 minutes and plow out where there was a parked car. So it's much easier if the cars are not there. Then we run into conditions where there might be a vehicle parked on both sides of the street. That's quite a problem.
We'll return to my conversation with Carol and Brian in a moment. But first, let's head over to the Neighborhood Centers of Johnson County, a local nonprofit that aims to improve the experiences of families in Iowa City neighborhoods, for an introduction to one of its initiatives, the Youth Off-Road Riders Cycling Program.
Youth Off-Road Riders is a cycling program for kids. I've always ridden bikes as a child, and then kind of later in my adulthood I wanted to recreate that interest, and went out and bought a bike and started riding, and had a grand idea to take kids on RAGBRAI, and from there I just kind of created a program. The whole idea is, the sport of cycling is tremendously grueling, and it takes a lot of determination, a lot of perseverance, and I think those are important skills as kids develop and grow. You don't win a lot of bike races, and the best bike racers don't win a lot without the help of others. So it's all about how can others help you as well, and what can you offer them. My favorite part of this is their excitement about it. They've cultivated from just this small little beginning.
My favorite part about being on the team is not only is it fun and challenging, but you do meet new people throughout your experience. It was a learning experience, really. It's the challenging aspect of it during races also helped me throughout school.
I like the community, and everyone's really nice, and it feels really nice to be with a lot of people that care about not only how they're doing, but how you are.
It's really an encouraging atmosphere, and everyone wants everyone to do as good as they can.
I just graduated from the program, and right now I'm actually a volunteer. I'm just helping them get out to the races. I like that it's just a unique sport, People are really nice, the community is really, really good.
They support each other in a tremendous way, and that's kind of the neat part of it when I sit back and watch. The racing is one thing, and watching them race is cool, but seeing how connected they are and how they're bonded like a family when we travel, and how they share stories and they joke with each other. That's a behind the scenes cool aspect that no one really gets to see but me. So I kind of treasure that. And we hope to get more kids involved and more kids connected. They've been great ambassadors for the program, and that's why it has continued to grow. Without their positive attitudes and their good-natured spirits, I don't think the program would have survived.
And I really like the aspect of training and working hard, because as a kid, I wasn't an athlete. Then cycling came along and I was able to do well at something. Then I've been trying to be better and better and better until I can take it to the next level and go pro, hopefully.
Definitely, I would love to continue this even after I'm out of the program.
We all support each other in our races, and we all just try to have fun with it and try to leave competition out of it. What I like about biking is, again, it's really fun, it's exciting, it's very fast-paced, and mountain biking, it's just really fun.
Well, it's all about building communities, and I think that our mission is to strengthen families, build communities, and I think cycling offers a new perspective, a new insight into themselves. It also brings them a connection with a different community that can offer supports as well. I enjoy the kids and their work ethic and their good-natured spirits and having fun with it. And I think that's the important part that I don't want to ever lose sight of, is that it's about fun. It's about having a good time and enjoying something and having healthy fun.
Now let's return to my conversation with Carol Sweeting and Brian Michael for more on snow emergencies.
The town has 12 snowplow routes. So we have our priority streets. We don't go actually street for street, but we have to take care of the main drags, bus routes, priority streets first, and then we work our way to the other ones.
So on our map, this is the map of Iowa City, and you'll notice that there's a red route. And the red route would include emergency response vehicles. They're usually wider streets, and they're going to the hospitals and to areas that we need to get to quickly. It might also include bus routes. Then we go to the blue routes, and the blue routes are greater than a 2% grade, and once again, ones that have higher populations driving on them at different times of the day. So that's the second route. And then we come down to the third, what we call a priority, only in the sense that those streets don't have a grade. They're pretty flat. And we have a problem that most cities have. They're called cul-de-sacs. And in the case of a cul-de-sac, they're made They're made for the reason that people want to live on a quiet, private street and not have a lot of traffic on them. And so the streets are a little narrower, and when you get down to the end of it, you have to drive around it to get back out.
Pretty much impossible to plow a cul-de-sac with a truck. We try to, most of the cul-de-sacs, plow the snow to the center of the circle. Some of them you cannot do that because there is no center, it's all pavement. But most of the circles have a curb and a median area in the center. But to go around with the truck, we try to make one pass, and it's not a very good pass because when you get in there and the angle of the blades on the wing and the front plow, pretty much you can't really plow a whole lot. And if you would plow it the other direction, you get such an accumulation of snow on your plow with nowhere to go. You'll get stuck. Pretty much if there's a car in there, it's not even worth going down in there.
When we go into a snow emergency, the best thing someone living on a cul-de-sac can do is do not park in the street. Our drivers then have to come to a point where they have to make a safety decision and say, I can't go down that street safely, and we'll have to come back when we can get things moved, and that involves towing.
I can see towing would be quite a nuisance to both sides because it wastes the city's time when they want to be working on plowing, and it wastes the residents' time because then they have to go get their car out. They have to pay quite a fee.
Well, the actual ticket will be $50, and we don't have a forgivable ticket the first time like you do if you're parking. The $50 permit fee goes into place, and that fee then has the police started, and they call for a tow truck, and then the vehicle is towed. And then you have the towing charges on top of it, which what we've seen recently have been anywhere from $100 to $2 for a tow. And then on top of that, if you have other parking tickets of any kind, those must also be paid for that car to come back out of impound. So it could be a pretty expensive proposition for just getting your car off the street. If you think there's a snow emergency and you have to park on the street all the time, our city parks will be plowed early so that you can park there during the 48-hour period in the parking lots and nobody will bother you. Also, our parking ramps. Our parking ramps are open. They'll be free the evening that we declare the snow emergency until 7 o'clock the next morning so you can get your car safely off the street. Iowa City has over 300 miles of street, and we have roughly, 24 you fellas that are out there?
Yes, during the day. During at night, there's only 12 of us.
So we have two
shifts,
snow teams.
2 snow teams.
So if you can imagine that 300 miles of snow that has to be removed, it's quite a feat. It's quite a feat for the guys to do, and it's important that we work as partners. One of the things that you can do in your own neighborhoods is if you see a vehicle that sits there all the time and rarely ever gets moved, is to have a conversation in your neighborhood and say, you know, I've got an extra driveway, or Joe's gone for the winter. Can we use that spot? And if we work that out now before we have a serious problem, then getting your cars off the street anytime it snows gives these guys a much better chance of having your streets cleaned and not having to ever have us call a snow emergency because we've kept our streets good and healthy.
Great, thanks for talking with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Mary, during a snow emergency, we've talked about the fact that you're going to want to park on the even side of the street on the even day of the month.
Right. And on the odd side of the street on the odd day of the month.
That's correct. Now, in some places in Iowa City, we have signs that indicate that as well. So as in this sign, no parking, even calendar dates, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. except for Sundays. We always want to follow the sign. So no matter what street you're on, the sign is going to be what we're going to be looking at. Now, except for there are some exceptions. In this case, it says except Sundays and between 8 and 5. So during a snow emergency, we want to remember what the sign says, but on a snow emergency, we also have to remember we're plowing all night long, and we may have a snow emergency on a Sunday, which means we're going to have this street cleaned.
So there are some streets that do it differently than this one, and they have parking only on one side all the time.
Only look at the sign. So if the sign says no parking on this side anytime, then you never get to park on that side.
So some days there will be no cars parked on that street.
That is correct. That is correct. And that allows us to get down both sides. And this is a different sign. We don't see these around many parts of the city, but this one says no parking 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. What do we do now in a snow emergency? No parking 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And during a snow emergency, we're going to have to go back to, on the odd day a week, park on the odd side of the street. On the even day of the week, park on the even side of the street. Follow the signs and just remember it's
Follow the
only
signs.
48 hours.
Thanks for watching this month's episode of Iowa City in Focus. I'll see you next time.